A couple more basics. I'm not going to get into the really hard ones because the ones you have on your quiz and the ones that you're going to really be pushed at this point are not going to be super complicated. We will work up to those. But again, I've said it 100 times, but I can't say it enough. Literal equations are going to be on your EOC. So the better we get at these, especially like I told you on Tuesday. This has felt like a really long week. Sorry. The y equals mx plus b. Area equals 1/2 base times height. Density equals mass over volume. Like those formulas, there's a real darn good chance. But there's a couple of different ones. Anything you see on your quiz, I would make sure to really write it down and put it in your notes just for study purposes. If you run into one that you're like, oh, I don't know what just happened there, write it down, send me a picture, and let me know. So just like your 2-step, 1-step, 3-step equations, I'm a huge fan of your line of great divide. What are you solving for? X. So box him in. Then you decide from there what's on the side with that x that you need to move. So that's a -2, so we're going to add 2 to both sides. 2 and u cannot be combined. They're two different terms. So u plus 2 equals 2x. Ask yourself at this point, is x by itself? It's not. So we're going to divide by 2 to get that 2 off of the x. And so then we're going to have u plus 2, which is a binomial, all over 2 equals x. And because that binomial is a binomial attached with addition in the middle, you can't reduce your 2's. So that is as far as you can go with that problem. It's done. And that's really basically a 2-step equation that you've done already before, but with just 2 letters instead of all numbers, where things would simplify out. So number 4, great divide. I'm looking for A. That CA is just like as if you had 2x, 3x, 4x. So C is attached to A by multiplication. So we're going to divide by C to get it off of A. So our C's cross out. And now we have G over C equals A. Moving right along. Number 6, G equals C plus X. We're going to solve for X. So I'm going to draw my line of great divide just to make sure I know when things cross that bad boy, it has to be the opposite. You can't just magically move things. So I'm going to subtract C because it's attached to X by addition or subtraction. Either way, it's when you're going to add or subtract. So minus C. Again, G and C are not like terms. And I found that when we have this conversation and do it together, that nobody has a problem with that. But as I've mentioned before, people start writing this all kind of crazy ways. So think about the operation you just used, subtraction. So then all that's saying is you're going to subtract C from G when you do this. And that's all you have to write in your next step. So equals X. Is X by itself? It is. So you are good to go. I'm going to keep boogieing all the way through this front page and then switch to the other worksheet just for use of time and do a couple more multi-step equations and 2-step equations. If you have a question, type it in the box. Or throw up a letter, and then I have it open to the side of where I'm working, trying to look for some questions from you guys, so I don't just talk and repeat and waste your time. So if you have a question, please ask it. Trust me that if you are not the only one that has a question if you have one. So looking at number 8, again, your line of great divide. We're solving for X. It's attached to C. And it's attached to C by multiplication. So this is basically just like number 4, but different letters. So we're going to divide both sides by C because that's multiplication. Rewrite it just as is equals X. And I think I mentioned that before. Some of a literal equation is, one, just getting through your head that you do have the mathematical skills. You understand inverse operations. But 2 is working a ton of them because they don't get super spun up as far as our class. So once you find that there's a couple like number 4 and number 8, they sort of repeat. 6 is one that's you're gonna repeat it a lot. If at worst case they throw an extra variable on one of the sides, but it's still the processes just repeat themselves over and over and over again. So if you've ever had a teacher that drove you crazy because you had a worksheet of 100 problems, her or his thought process was if you do enough, you'll see the pattern. And I would say for literal equations, it's just the confidence because you haven't done them for so long. All right, so I need X. It's a -3x. What else is on that side of the equal mark? So my great divide. And how do I move it? So 2c's over there, that's the first thing we want to deal with. It's attached by addition. So I'm going to subtract 2c from both sides. So we are subtracting 2c. So that's exactly what we're going to write. So negative 3x just falls down. These guys go away. And it was minus 3 minus 2c. Still need x by itself. At this point it is not. It's attached to a negative 3 by multiplication. So we're going to divide by negative 3. And then these 3's go away. So now x is by itself. And negative 3 minus 2c all over negative 3. Now, because of this negative and this negative, these are probably going to switch signs. So it's going to be x equals 3 plus 2c over 3. And that's because of the negative negative. And because it's a binomial, the whole thing switches. Is everybody okay with what I just did and why? Or do you want to know the why? Like why that negative 3 minus 2c over negative 3 switches to positive. Like I can show you the algebraic why. Okay. It's the double negative. So dividing a negative by a negative makes a positive. Just like multiplying a negative by a negative is a positive. So that's why those symbols would change. Alrighty. So number 12. Hey, Hala. It's Math 1, babe. So if it seems kind of not like what we're doing, it's not. You can hang out, though, if you want, if you have a question. Or, you know, check back in a little bit if you want to. So this is a perfect example of a two-step literal equation. I need to get the b off the bottom so I can start getting a by itself. So I'm going to multiply both sides by b. And by the bottom, I mean out of the denominator. And b times u does nothing magical besides become b times u equals ak. Because that got rid of my b in the bottom. Need to get a by itself. It's attached to k by multiplication. So we're going to divide by k, divide by k. And guys, if at any point I'm going too fast, you just have to say the word and I'll slow down. kk. And so a is now by itself. So it's bu over k equals a. All right. Number 14. I need to get x by itself. X is on the left side, attached to m by multiplication. So I'm going to divide by m, divide by m. That gets rid of those. And so x is now by itself, and though it is an ugly, strange answer, we just took n times p and multiplied by m. So, and that's it. That's what you did. So you're done on number 14 as well. For the sake of making sure, I'm going to jump to 18 because this is like y equals mx plus b, but is not. So y equals mx plus b, very similar in setup except minus b in different letters. And this would be like solving for x, which you are going to do a lot for linear equations in the unit next. So I'm going to work with that one just as a good call out, probably a good one to have in your notes. Again, it's not y equals mx plus b, but the setup is the same. I'm actually solving for a. On the outside is that minus b, so we're going to add b to both sides. So I now have g plus b, because that's what I did. G plus b equals ca. A is not by itself yet. It's attached to c by multiplication, so I'm going to divide. And that's going to be g plus b over c equals a. Now a is by itself. All right, so that was a bunch of literals. We have live class started at 9:40. Cool, we have 15 more minutes. And obviously, if we run over, it's fine by me. It's just up to you. I want to make sure you're good as far as your equations are going. Those two are not and I'm going to skip around a little bit. So 96 equals 6 times k plus 8. So this is two-step equations, or it's multi-step. But the main part, once you got past distribution, and as I told you before, because you're going to have bigger ones, one arrow, write a number. So I have 96 equals 6k. Then draw your second arrow. And again, as I've told you before, this is just keeping you present and keeping you paying attention so you know where your numbers are and keeping you working step by step. 6 times 8 should be 48. Now, it's just like your literals, but there's numbers so things can simplify. I need to get k by itself. So I'm going to subtract 48 from both sides. And I just wrote it beside it because the 12 is underneath there. So 96 minus 48 gives me 48. So 48 equals 6k. We're going to divide both sides by 6. And k is going to equal 8. Everybody okay on that problem? Or does anybody have a call out on like why that might be hard, or what you think a mistake is going to be? Or do you think we nailed it as far as conversation on ironing out where you think you might go wrong? Or if you have any questions. Everybody's okay? Are y'all asleep over there because it's only 9:30 in the morning? Everybody's paying attention-ish? Yeah. But look, wouldn't you agree that it's just a matter of like, okay, 1 step, 2 steps, so like slow down. Like you have to really stay present, stay focused on what you're doing, and don't let the shiny objects or squirrels around you sort of get you distracted. All right, cool. Thank you, Jakai, for answering me too. All right. Number 4, I feel like it's pretty easy. X minus 3 equals 10. I need x by itself, so I'm going to add. So that's a mega gift, but that's going to be 13. And that's just because that negative 3 had to cross the equal marks. Again, like I'm going to jump around to the ones that I know would be the most helpful for you. So number 9. So we have distribution, subtract 4 equals 76. So again, first thing we're going to do is distribute one arrow at a time to keep ourselves focused and not skipping and making oopses. It's different when you have no idea what's going on. It's frustrating when you know what you're doing and all of a sudden you just make a careless error. So 10H, and I hate calling them careless. I like calling them squirrels or brain hiccups. So 10 times 1. 10. That parentheses is your big brick wall, so you are done solving with distribution at that point, or like pushing through that distribution of that 10. And then after that, you're just going to write minus 4, because that's what's there, equals 76. And I've just rewritten over here. So new great divide. Clean up, so check both sides first for what you combine like terms. That positive 10 and negative 4 are both constants. So I can clean those up to get, that's probably not a good idea, to get 6. 10H plus 6 equals 76. 10H is who we're trying to solve for. The variable is H. So we're going to subtract 6 from both sides. 10H equals 70. 10H is 10 times H, so the inverse of multiplication is going to be division. And H equals 7. So we are going to be. Number 10 is a great one. I'm not sure it takes, again, it takes just doing a couple of them for most people to get them. So V plus 9 over 3, and I'm just writing it over here for more space. So we need to get V by itself. 3 is in the denominator, so that has it all tied up in a hot mess. So we're going to try to get that 3 out of the denominator first. That is a division problem. So the inverse of division is going to be multiplication. These 3's will go away. So V plus 9 equals 24. We still, V is not by itself yet. We are going to subtract 9 from both sides because it's attached to V by addition. So V is going to equal 5. About to say 15. Sorry. 5. 5, 5, 5. And that's not right. What happened? Does anybody see my mistake? Or is this a bum quizzes problem? It is 15. Phew. 15. Not 5. Not enough caffeine. I haven't been awake long enough. Is everybody okay with the 3 in the basement like that and moving him around and trying to find the right answer there? Any questions on that guy? Hint, hint. Now's your time. All right, I'm going to keep turning while you're thinking. Number 11 is another good one because you see a fraction. It's not the same thing as the last one because that -5 is hanging out on the outside. So if I can put a box around my variable and there's an operation or a number happening around it, that needs to move first. So add 5. Add 5. So x divided by 2 is equal to 30. We still have the 2 in the basement again. So to get it out of the denominator, which I call basement, not very mathy, but nonetheless, we're going to multiply by 2. So x equals 60. Excuse me. Word problems, I feel like, are something that a lot of people struggle with. I try to hit enough of different kinds. So you want to, just for conversation's sake, this one's a little longer than any of the ones that are on your quiz, but 331 students, obviously this number is going to matter for now. They went on a field trip. So that means that's the total number of students. 6 buses were filled, so 6 matters. Big thing I would tell you to do, especially on quizzes and EOCs, is when you see numbers like that written out, try to write a note and write the actual numeric number down. Even though when we're reading it together and you see 6, you hear 6 in your head and you think 6, with all the fluff around it without seeing the number for quick reference, some of us mess up that number. Buses were filled and 7 students traveled in cars. So 7's important, but it's in cars versus buses. How many students were in each bus? So 7 students total traveled in cars. 6 buses were filled. We don't know how many students were on each bus. So it would be 6 times unknown number of students, right? And then we're going to subtract 7 from that. Add 7, sorry. 7 more kids. This is my total number of kids. 331. I've had this discussion with lots of students. That it sort of depends on the order that you read that in. Because I would have done in my mind, like, you know how a lot of students argue, I don't want to write math down. Why do I have to show my work? I do it in my head and I just get through logic. And I don't know if that's in 6th grade, 7th grade, or 8th grade where they start that logic stuff. It's awesome for your brain skill. It makes it really tough to put these down in the correct order for the equations. So if you're a logic brain person, persevere, hang tight, you're going to be fine. But equation formatting, because arguably D is not completely wrong, except that it is not simplified. Does that, I mean, hopefully that makes sense to you. This would not be your start equation. Nobody would give you an equation like this unless you were doing a unit on combining like terms, which is not what this is. So thinking about where these equations, like word problems and things, are placed in your educational career of math may help a little bit to have some kind of idea what format they're really looking for. So this would be your answer, your correct answer. Question? All right. Write an equation. She had $24 total to spend on 7 pencils. After buying them, she had 10. How much did each pencil cost? So I started with 24. So again, this is that logic where you would go, okay, I had $24. And when I was done, I had 10, so you would minus 10, 14. I had 7 pencils, so you would divide by 7, which would give me 2. So to answer it would be no big deal for a lot of you. the equation part, though, is exactly what you did, but is writing it in what you would say, quote unquote, equation form, maybe would be the best way to say it. So writing out what happened in your head. So 14 divided by 7, that would be that 14 equals 7x, and that's working on getting your x by itself, the unknown. That's where you would get your t. So 7 times some number of pencil. And in my answers here, I had $24. The problem with D is that minus is attached to 24. And 7 times the number minus 24 could work and give me 10. Man, they gave you crap answer choices. A and D are both good answers, depending on where you put what. Because my total cost in pencils minus 24. This one doesn't work. You would end up with a negative. Yep. This is no good. Whew. All right, good. Well, I was about to say, I hope I didn't set you up. This is that error analysis when you look at everything and try to justify what they did. So you had 24. You had $10 left over, plus however much you spent would give me your 24. So it is A. B is not terrible, but again, it's not in like equation form because you have two constants on one side. So that would be like step 2 of your equation form in solving it, if that makes sense. Questions? I have 4 more minutes, so I'm going to push this all the way through. Exposure is life. All right, 20. If you've dazed out on me, ding, ding, ding. Come back, come back. I have 4 more minutes. So I'm trying to hook you up and help you out. So 20, again, write this down. If it's on a computer screen, or write it down. Double check when you write it down that you have your positives and negatives in the right place. So again, that mental math is going to mess you up on a 60-question, 4-hour-long test for your EOC. So go ahead and force yourself to start practicing putting things down on paper. Obviously, you also don't get full credit for your quiz if you don't submit your work or you can read it. But seriously, please, please, please trust me. Not that you can't do mental math, but the longevity of these tests in the future is going to wear your brain down. So you want to take some of the pressure off. So that -1 in the front, we're going to distribute it. That's going to give me a -3v. Next arrow, -1 times -1. I'm sorry, -1 times +1 is a -1. There's my parentheses. So I'm done pushing that -1 all the way through, and I'm going to switch colors, so hopefully this makes sense. 6 times 7 is going to give me 42v. 7 times 6 is going to give me 42. Then I hit my equal marks, which again is just as good as that. I have my parentheses as well. So that distribution is over, equals -37. Now we're going to look at this side because there's a hot mess, and you're going to look at your common terms, the things that you can put together, like terms. So I have -3v can go with a +42v. And then I have that -1 that will go with the 42. So again, this is just perseverance, making sure you're writing neat enough, not going too fast. So 3 from 42 is going to give me 39v. -1 plus 42, so that's mean it has $42 and I lost $1. So plus 41 equals -37. Now we're back to what we've been doing a ton of so far, it feels like. 39v. I'm going to subtract 41, subtract 41. So -37, so I borrowed $37 from you yesterday, and then I borrowed 41 from you today. So I owe you 78. So 39v equals 78. 39 is attached to v by multiplication, so we're going to divide by 39. Divide by 39. And that should give us 2. And does anybody see my error? Because there's definitely an error. For 2 points on your quiz, can anybody see where I messed up? Or if you work it on your paper, what answer did you guys get? Yeah. Do you see what I did wrong? And I only say that because this is something that students do all the time, or humans, I guess I should say, because, I mean, I'm not a student, but. And you see that they gave you that positive 2 answer choice, like I've told you before, especially EOC multiple choice questions. As much as we like multiple choice questions, the problem with Math 1 is they give you the wrong, the right wrong answer, if that makes sense. The common mistake, correct answer, but not correct answer to the problem. It is -2. So you want to make sure so Cadence and Logan, yeah. You just all of a sudden like space out on your negatives, much like I did. So that's a -78. So it is a -2. So our answer is, so Cadence and Logan, you guys are both right. Great job. You guys came in about at the same time, so I'll give you both a point on your quiz. Just remind me. Yeah, the -78, exactly. Good job. But so just be careful. And I only say that because, not to sound any way, but if I can do it talking to you guys, it's going to happen, especially when you guys are going through multiple problems in a row. It is our 30 minutes are up, so I'm going to end the recording video in case there's any chance anybody ever goes back and watches these bad boys.